Good morning, people. This is Joe Bright of Poetry Song. Yep, it's a little early in the morning, but I'm here to have a little chat with y'all because I want to finish up my conversation that I originally started with gender equality. But I'm going to add to that some things about the Public Facilities Privacy and Security Act, also known as the Bathroom Bill. But before I get into all that, let me just open you all up to a little bit of something that, that's probably going to, reveal to you a better version of yourself. Because we all have to have one, right? I'm Joe Bright. This is Poetry Song. And I want you to hear about this. If I get one more phone call from one more person asking for one more dollar from a check I barely get, don't get me wrong. I give and I give. When my mama needs a 20. When my baby needs a 10. When my friend breaks down and cries on my shoulder. And just when I think I cleared away the dust bunnies of my bills, the credit cards, mortgage insurance, and car note, just when I think I can rub two nickels together, the responsibility to make a decent decision is before me again. And I'm not upset about it because it's what I do. I give and I give. I get frustrated because sometimes I find myself trying to make ends meet from across a quadruple wide street and the ends are frayed, barely touching. Sometimes it's just not the right time. And even though I say, not right now, I can't even get myself to say no. And it's not that I can't say no. It's that I remember all those times when saying, please, somebody, anybody, have a heart, help me. And somebody did. And sometimes it was somebody who I didn't even know. It just happened. And I was thankful. So I said I would be that somebody someday. So I give and I give. Because somebody gave to me. They didn't ask any questions, judge me, make me feel less than I already did. I pass it on, pay it forward. That's my thanks to those who gave when I needed it. But I get calls from voices without faces who always want, but I have a problem with giving to faceless places, bodiless entities, who seem to be able to always call me, send me letters, postcards, gifts for giving, change, money. For real. Now I wonder just how much I'm supposed to send them if they can tape coins to their letter and ask me for more money. I get sent that all the time. And they want $1 or $2. How am I supposed to decide on that? So I give them back what they sent to me. Fair. I give and I give and I give again. And sometimes I give back. But I'm given to give because somebody gave to me. And that's because I give and I give as well. Don't we all? That's from the Journals of Joe Bright, one of the books I've been working on. Okay, so my name is Joe Bright, and this is Poetry Song, BFD, Battle for Dominance, something that I kind of always deal with every morning. So let me just get right into my conversation with you. It's regarding the Public Facilities Privacy and Security Act. And I'm getting this straight from Wikipedia. And it says that the Public Facilities Privacy and Security Act, officially called an act to provide for single-sex, multiple-occupancy bathroom and changing facilities in schools and public agencies, and to create statewide consistency in regulation of employment and public accommodations, but commonly known as House Bill 2 or HB 2. It is an act passed in the U.S. state of North Carolina in 2016. Now, mind you, that's just last year. It has been described as the most anti-LGBT legislation in the United States, while proponents call it common sense legislation. Now, that is coming right back up in our political discussion, that we seem to have a lot of political discussions about everything these days, because to me it seems like the now administration is trying to dismantle everything that our former administration did. And that's just my personal opinion, and I'm sure a whole bunch of y'all can see that. Okay, so Wikipedia further goes on to say that one contentious element of the law eliminates anti-discrimination protections for gay, bisexual, transgender, genderqueer, and intersex people, and legislates that in government buildings, individuals may only use restrooms and changing facilities that correspond to the sex on their birth certificates. And it's been criticized because it prevents transgender people who do not or cannot alter their birth certificates from using the restroom consistent with their gender identity. In North Carolina, only people who undergo sex reassignment surgery can change the sex on their birth certificates, and outside jurisdictions have different rules. Some are way more restrictive. The legislation changes the definition of sex in the state's anti-discrimination law to the, quote, the physical condition of being male or female, which is stated on a person's birth certificate. The act also prohibits municipalities in North Carolina from enacting anti-discrimination policies, setting a local minimum wage, regulating child labor, or making certain regulations for city workers. The legislation also removes the statutory and common law private right of actions to enforce state anti-discrimination statutes in state courts. On May 9th, 2016, the U.S. Department of Justice sued Governor Pat McCrory, the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, and the University of North Carolina system, stating that House Bill 2 violates Title VII of the Civil Rights Act and Title XI of the Education Amendments of 1972 and the Violence Act, the Violence Against Women Act, On the same day, North Carolina's governor and legislative leaders filed two separate lawsuits against the Department of Justice to defend the law, and two private lawsuits are also underway, one challenging and the other defending the law. It's a big conversation in our country every single day. But the rights of the LGBTQ community are stronger now than they were 20, 30 years ago, even 10 years ago. But the fact remains is there are factions in our country, political factions and religious factions, that are still trying to usurp any of those laws, as if the people who I lovingly call family have no rights to even go to the bathroom without showing an ID. Honey, if that doesn't sound communist, nothing does. The fact of the matter is, the bathroom bill is still in effect in North Carolina, and other states have picked it up. My problem is there are some things in the bathroom bill that a lot of people kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They go past it. It's like, oh, it's just a bathroom bill. It's just talking about how people can go, feel safe. When was the last time a female who is binary, a binary female who felt felt in fear of her life or her sexual orientation when a gay person walked into the bathroom with her? Because trust me, I have not read any newspaper articles stating that a woman was raped in the bathroom by another woman who was gay or who was transgender. Seriously. Here's the real underbelly of the beast of this bill. It is called setting a local minimum wage. How about that? Y'all didn't see that coming, did you? A lot of people didn't. That means they can set the minimum wage to whatever they want in the state of North Carolina, regardless to what the federal government says has to be done. So while everybody else is still fighting to get up to $15 an hour, North Carolina can set it wherever they want to, because that's what they did. So what's the fight all about? Is it about whether or not an LGBTQ or a quilt bag can use a public restroom in a male facility or a female binary facility? No, it has nothing really to do with that. It has everything to do with the local wage. Because why would it be in there? Why? And let's just be real clear about the whole bathroom situation. Back in the 50s, back in the 40s and the 30s, and even into the 60s, black people couldn't use white people's bathrooms. It was for coloreds only. Truly. 1961, just before a man was sent into the moon, right? We had colored-only bathrooms. See, so that's another thing. And it's just neck and neck with the minimum wage. But that's the whole thing of it. Is that going to really make America great again? Because America wasn't great when it was doing things like that. Back in the day when people had to do things behind closed doors, they couldn't, openly talk about anything for fear of being ridiculed, called upon to be arrested. This is ridiculous. And this is what we deal with now. I read an article. No, I didn't. I didn't read an article. I saw a post on social media of a young woman who identified as female and from Louisiana who was murdered. And the post said that this person who identified as a female, that she was murdered, and she was of the 7 they wanted to call it transgender, but I don't think it was transgender at all. I think that this person was more of a transvestite. But the fact remains is this person had put up some really nice pictures of herself, and she was feeling really good about herself, and she found herself dead. And now she is one of 7 murders this year, right, from the LGBTQ community, and of the 7, 6 were black. Black. It's hard to come to talk about, isn't it? Because people just want to turn a blind eye to it, and it makes them feel better. But we're not trying to make each other feel better, are we? We're supposed to make each other feel good about ourselves because of the good things and the right decisions that we're making. Let me play you all this one. Because I'm Joe Bright, and this is Poetry Song. Battle for Dominance. We battle with it all day long. We're going to talk some more about it when I come back. All right? Listen to this. Every morning my head screams at me because of all the tasks that are left undone from the day before. No matter how many lists I make, no matter how many check marks on each line I strike off to mark the completion of the many obstacles that block my everyday, it's never done. The obstacle of just getting out of the bed, my warm and cozy, oh so wonderful bed, because the alarm went off way too soon. The dream I was having was one of my favorites. I was holding a flower to my lips, and you come up behind me and replace it with yours. And I can still feel how full and wet and soft they are. I can feel my hands caressing your hair and face. Everything is warm and soft and hard and full. And I can still feel myself drifting into that euphoria that's called an orgasm in my dreams. But that damn alarm sounds off, and as bad as I want to hit the snooze button, I know I should wake up and face the day. That damn list. That list of tasks that mean I have to accomplish something every single day. It would mean so much to me if you could just make me feel that way sometimes. I can do so much by myself. On my own. And I don't need a knight in shining armor, because I can save myself in this wretched world, most days. So don't get it wrong or get it twisted. It's not bad. I just rather have a partner sometimes. Someone who realizes that it doesn't hurt to sing the praises of the one you love. I just want you to know if you're still in this with me. Or are you just sitting on the sidelines joining in when you feel like it, because it seems like too much work for you right now? So my head's just screaming, wake up! And I tell it to shut up, because it's way too damn early in the morning to have to deal with this. So, on the list you go too. And I hear my bed, my pillow, my cozy socks, some soft music, and hopes of my dream lover returning to me. Well, I have a hopes too. I'm talking about these the conversation that's not being had about the bathroom bill, LGBTQ community, and the laws being passed, the so-called laws being passed in the state of North Carolina that they're trying to use to go across the entire United States and make people have a bathroom. Wait a minute. A bathroom for binary females, a bathroom for binary males. We already have family bathrooms, where a woman can take her child, if it's a boy, into this bathroom, or a man can take his child, if it's a girl. And also having bathrooms just for the queer. Now, mind you, that's just wrong on so many levels. That is so 1961. I'm not anywhere near for it. The HB2 or the bathroom bill also has in there, stuck in there very, very neatly, the whole part about minimum wage. Yeah, it says the act also prohibits municipalities in North Carolina from enacting anti-discrimination policies and setting a local minimum wage, regulating child labor, or making certain regulations for city workers. The legislation also removes the statutory and common law private right of action to enforce state anti-discrimination statutes in state courts. And see, the problem with that is, unless you're a lawmaker, a lawyer, or you have some kind of a background in law, whereas you've read contracts and those words don't get muddled up in your head. And I'm not any of those people. I do not sign off on any of that. That's not in my head. That gets very confusing. I mean, you hear the everyday common language, but then you read past it and you can't make heads or tails of it. Is it a good idea? It sounds like a good idea. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. And so because it's over our heads, we tend to think, okay, well, we'll just wait for somebody who knows how to speak to us, say things to us. That's why I listen to TYT. I look at TYT. I listen to Roland Martin. I even go over and, check on MSNBC. I'm not giving everybody a bunch of pub on here, but the fact is I check my sources. I go to Snopes. And I try to see, and I pull out my dictionary too. I pull out my dictionary in a heartbeat because I want to know exactly what it is that I'm paying attention to. Am I understanding it? And don't be embarrassed or ashamed to do that, people. As a writer, that's what I find myself having to do on a regular basis. Now, I think that I have a very good grasp on the American language. I think that I am eloquent and that I have the ability to understand a plethora of different words because I've been writing for so long. And I'm an avid reader of books. I love all kinds of books. But here, right now, the reality of it is, when it comes to legal jargon like this, in the bathroom bill and these other bills, you need somebody to interpret them for you. And if you don't, then you may find yourself agreeing with something that really isn't for you. The fact that we have to have that they're trying to pass or have passed a bathroom bill, that clearly states that they're trying to single out a group of people, a very large group of people, and tell them, we don't want you in this bathroom or that bathroom. Here, you use that bathroom. And that's exactly what they did to African Americans, remember, the 60s all the way back. Seriously, in the 1960s all the way back. For colored people only. Just remember that. And then as far as the wage is concerned, that also went on us too. And women. So every time this country moves forward a little bit, it steps back a whole lot more. Because it, for some reason, cannot understand that everybody across the board has to be treated the exact same way. So this happened on April 12, 2016. Governor McCrory signed an executive order 93, officially called Executive Order Number 93, to protect privacy and equality regarding House Bill 2. The executive order requires all state agencies to serve all people equally when providing government services, reaffirms that private employers may, but are not required to, establish anti-discrimination policies, and reaffirms that private employers may determine their own policies regarding use of bathrooms, locker rooms, and showers based on their own policies. This includes when a private entity rents governmental facilities. In the executive order, McCrory also supported new legislation restoring a cause of action in state courts for victims of illegal employment discrimination. That's a mouthful. Although McCrory promoted the executive order as a compromise in response to nationwide backlash, House Bill 2 remained largely intact, and companies that spoke out against the law reaffirmed their opposition. So while the public corporations have to do that because they employ hundreds, even thousands of people on a regular basis, and they cannot be brought up. They don't have time to be sitting up in court saying, yeah, we put up an extra bathroom because we felt like the people who were queer, they needed to have their own bathroom. That's a bunch of bull. That's a bunch of bull. I personally believe in my own heart of hearts, if it's a bathroom and I have to use it and the rest of them are full, I'm using the one that's empty. Because even though men's bathrooms, all of them don't have stalls, because we know y'all all stand up and hey, whatever, you all still have to sit down at some point. So I know there's some commodes in there. And so it's not beyond me in a huge emergency to go in that bathroom. But the reality is, people should not be stopped in the bath at a restaurant and said, I'm not a male. I don't identify as male, and I don't identify as female. And people have a fit if I use the family bathroom. Oh, there's one for the quilt bags. Seriously, not cool. Not cool at all. That's why so many, and I'm just going to say it, that's why so many of them stay in the closet. Yeah, many of them have come out. Hundreds, thousands, millions. And I am thankful for that because my son came out to me 3 years ago. Almost 4 now. This is 2017. And he took me out to lunch and he told me that he was gay. And I said, I know. But he hadn't actually ever said it out loud. Never. And now he's married. He has a wonderful husband. There was a great wedding, and it happened May 2016. And he's coming up on a 1-year anniversary. And I've never seen my son as happy as I've ever. So, and that's what we want. We want our families to be happy, to be able to live a life that benefits us all. You know what I'm saying? He puts in a lot to society. I'm not telling you where it works, but because there's too many hateful people out there. There's too many people who want to stand up on their soapboxes and say, and I really am talking about the so-called Christian moral majority. They want to stand on their soapboxes and say what the Bible says and what the Bible says doesn't say. And honestly, I don't think they even realize that they're the biggest hypocrites in this country. And I say that in all sincerity because guess what? I'm a Christian, but I ain't one of them. Please trust me when I tell you that. I am not one of them. I'm going to tell you right now, it's amazing to me how people say that they're good people. And then they turn around and say some of the nastiest things to each other. That's my personal rant. I need to take a short break. I need to let you all take a listen to this. I call this one Imitation of Life. The last movie I saw was so entertaining. We caught the late matinee. That's what we do these days when we have time off from our oh-so-busy days. It was a Wednesday afternoon. There was a constant drizzle of rain that day. It kept making me think whether I should wear a hat or a scarf or just carry my umbrella. I mean, those things are useless most rainy days these days. We sat in a theater full of strangers. The lights dimmed, and 15 agonizing minutes later, the movie started. The hero lost his true love early on. They were a not so normal couple. Just two people who didn't have a big house outside the city or a plethora of friends who hung out with them after work or on the weekends. They didn't have fabulous jobs that afforded them beautiful cars or extravagant vacations. All they had was each other in their everyday life. And they did everyday things that we all related to on some level. When our happy couple was together, I felt every moment when their lips met and their bodies sweated and slid all over each other with their hands and their tongues. I was engulfed in every conversation they had about his life and her job and their friends and enemies and the troubles they had in their everyday life. I was devastated when she died, and I wanted to hold him in my arms. And I said to myself then, why do the writers have to separate happy couples and make them suffer? Why can't movies just be about happiness? But that thought passed as I saw him in that horrific accident that changed his personality from mild-mannered good guy to arrogant prick. He had a chip on his shoulder the size of a cavern, and all he wanted was revenge. But it wasn't anyone's fault his true love died. He just needed to blame someone, anyone, even himself. I watched his life continue to spiral out of control as he lost one important piece of his life after another. She died. There was no funeral. And let's face it, the movies rarely cut to the funeral of people who live everyday lives. They just show us those who have to continue on with their lives, whatever that means. Anyway, it seemed he was trying to get himself killed. He put himself in an impossible situation after another, and he fought with anyone and everyone. And then he found a purpose in life with his newfound power, his new arrogance, his new freedom from death, because he wasn't afraid of death anymore. And I thought that the movie didn't really make sense. I didn't know where it was going. The scenes of happiness, lovemaking, smiling, eating, walking, running, laughing, screaming, pain, torture, lies, death, betrayal, power, vengeance, planning for the future, aching because of the past, the frustrations of the present. And yet, he managed to be the hero at the end of the movie. He wasn't happier. He didn't fall in love with another person. He didn't make any long-lasting bond with a stranger along the way. He managed to right one wrong, and it wasn't insignificant on the scale of wrongs today. But when he did it, it seemed everybody in the audience was cheering him on. When the movie was over and the credits were rolling, because there's always credits to give, we all put on our coats, sweaters, scarves, hats. We grabbed our umbrellas, and we all left. That camaraderie we all felt, that left too. And when we all got into the bright lights of the hallways of the movie theater, suddenly we were faceless strangers again. Strangers who all went back to our faceless lives. But we were entertained by that movie. Hey now, I call that imitation of life. Isn't that amazing? When we get together in faceless places, where we don't even know each other. The theater is the one place we go where you can go by yourself with a friend, your mama, your baby, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Your hated enemy could be like 4 rows ahead of you, and you wouldn't even know it. And you all go in there, and we sit and we watch some movie that has been, promoted on television and everywhere. And we watch, and we all get together, and we love this movie. We cheer it on, right? I don't need to tell you which kind of movie it is, but that's what we do. And we're in one accord. Everybody agrees and or disagrees, but a lot of us agree because we done paid our money to get in there with this movie. And for that brief moment that we are in there, we are one. But the lights come up. Everybody grabs their belongings. They leave, and we're out in the harsh lights of the theater hallway, and we're faceless strangers again. But that's a human right, isn't it? We have a right to be that way. Yeah, that's the way it is. So this is the final thing I have on this whole bathroom bill. North Carolina, this is all coming from Wikipedia, by the way. On March 23rd, 2016, North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory signed into law the Public Facilities Privacy and Security Act, a bathroom bill that applies to students at North Carolina state schools into law. The bill also overturns an anti-LGBT discrimination ordinance that had been passed by Charlotte, North Carolina, preventing local governments in the state from enacting similar ordinances, and prevents cities from raising their minimum wages higher than that of the state. So that those last two lines say all of it. Then remember back a year and a half, 2 years ago? We were out there on the street protesting for a higher minimum wage because it still needs to be done, set across the board from one state to the next until you're not in the United States of America. We still all need to be paid a minimum wage that meets our standard of living, which, by the way, is pretty freaking high. $15 an hour does not do a whole lot. It doesn't. But how many of us are out there protesting that right now? And bathrooms, well, let me just put it this way. When I was talking about it last week, there was a school in London, a girls' school called St. Mary's, and the headmistress there, she enacted a protocol that when a student, it's an all-girls school, that when a student felt like she needed to change her identity, her sexual identity, that she could fill out this application, and and once approved, then she would be identified, but only in school, as a boy. But that would be only in school. Of course, the parents would be involved in the process, but this is what this headmistress did. It didn't say anything about how they were changing the bathrooms. It didn't say anything about how people she had to have her own spot in the classroom to sit. It just meant, it said, so that she can identify as a boy at school. And that's part of the gender flux protocol that they had put in place. Because our children see us and everything that we are doing. So while the bathroom is just should be a null and void thing, what's in the bathroom bill is the minimum wages, right? And prevents cities from raising their minimum wage higher than that of the state. I live in the state of Indiana, and unfortunately, I wish I didn't, because our now vice president, when he was governor here, he set a law and a standard, and a lot of Christians that live in this state think it's the best thing that ever happened, and they cannot serve a quilt bag if they don't want to. They can ask them to leave. I unfriended a person because of that. I was like, how dare you say that to me? How dare you tell me that you think that that's a good idea? I mean, seriously, this is what the DT wants to do. He wants to make America great again. And in doing so, he is going to set another line in the sand, and he's going to put everybody he hates on this side and everybody he loves on that side. Is he making America great again? Well, let's put it this way. He is doing all the things that everyone, the majority, of the population of this country has been trying to change for forever. He has just gone back to that argument. That's all. He's just gone back to that argument. And he don't really care that, the majority of the people don't want it to happen. He's just pushing forward his agenda. We should have human rights. And I understand we got civil rights, but we should have human rights. Everyone should have a right to live, breathe, do, work, educate themselves. And let's just move forward and move past that. I mean, my goodness, do you know what it's like if you're not an African American in this country, you have no idea what it's like to have that in your history. You don't. Now, here's my other part of that argument, and I'm going to make it real quick. When white people stood up for black people back in the day, they were as much terrorized as black people. I read about that when I was doing some research a few years back. And we don't think about that. So while black people and other minorities are talking about how we are being mistreated, just think of, add in that the white people who stood up with us, they were abused and mistreated as badly as the blacks and the other minorities in this country. Whenever they stood up with us. But don't forget the killing fields of Mississippi. Yes, that's right. They were hung and burned just like us. And that's a hateful time in our history. And I know nobody wants to revisit it if they could get away from it. But, that's the way things are. I have a couple more pieces I want to play for you all because it's important that we know that this station is about poetry. Yep, I have my rants, but it's also about poetry. I'm Joe Bright, and this is Poetry Song BFD, Battle for Dominance. You can follow me on Facebook at Johanna Bright or excerpts from my resume or my resume. I'm also on Twitter. Don't go looking for Twitter. It's not there. But I am on Twitter at Mama Yaya. I'm on Instagram also as Johanna Bright. And I am on YouTube, excerpts from my resume. Check out all my videos. And I'm the co-host on the Jamaica Funk Show with Catherine Winston and Christos Tacitus of Christos Furs. And we'll actually be on iHeartRadio again tonight. I have something I want to share with y'all. And if you just stay with me, I will be right back. If I get one more phone call from one more person asking for one more dollar from a check I barely get, don't get me wrong. I give and I give. When my mama needs a 20, when my baby needs a 10, when my friend breaks down and cries on my shoulder, and just when I think I cleared away the dust bunnies of my bills, the credit cards, mortgage insurance, and car note, just when I think I can rub two nickels together, the responsibility to make a decent decision is before me again. And I'm not upset about it because it's what I do. I give and I give. I get frustrated because sometimes I find myself trying to make ends meet from across a quadruple wide street and the ends are frayed, barely touching. Sometimes it's just not the right time. And even though I say, not right now, I can't even get myself to say no. And it's not that I can't say no. It's that I remember all those times when saying, please, somebody, anybody, have a heart, help me. And somebody did. And sometimes it was somebody who I didn't even know. It just happened. And I was thankful. So I said I would be that somebody someday. So I give and I give. Because somebody gave to me. They didn't ask any questions, judge me, make me feel less than I already did. I pass it on, pay it forward. That's my thanks to those who gave when I needed it. But I get calls from voices without faces who always want, but I have a problem with giving to faceless places, bodiless entities, who seem to be able to always call me, send me letters, postcards, gifts for giving, change, money. For real? I wonder just how much I'm supposed to send them if they can tape coins to their letter and ask me for more money. I get sent that all the time. And they want $1 or $2. How am I supposed to decide on that? So I give them back what they sent to me. Fair. I give and I give and I give again. And sometimes I give back. But I'm given to give because somebody gave to me. You want me to be blunt? Okay, I'll be blunt, but you won't like what I have to say. Because what I have to tell you comes from a place within me where I store shit that bothers me. Shit that makes it difficult for people to look at me. Shit that brings out the part of me that people think that they can handle. But in reality, they just being nosy. The truth is, the last time I called myself laying down the truth the way I see it, one chick took so much offense from what I said, she thought it was aimed at her. But it wasn't. What I said was aimed at people like her. I didn't know her to tell her that kind of truth. I was speaking in generalities, and the person I was referring to, she didn't know him either. Not personally. So don't go letting people know you want to hear the truth because you can take it. Because I know you. You want to hear the truth only as long as it doesn't hurt you, make you think about or contemplate something, step back from a truth you hold dear to, reevaluate yourself or your thoughts or opinions, standards, what you call truth in your life. There's a war going on, and it's being held in the deepest, darkest corners of my mind. And some days I struggle with the possibility of calling a truce. Just a simple ceasefire from the barrage of shells being launched into my psyche. At first, I didn't realize there was a war because I was just poor and living in the projects. The projects. That's where it all started for me. I was pushed head first right into the trenches before I was even old enough to realize that a fight was even on. I was pitted against myself into a battle for my own preservation of self. In the first battle, I lost because I didn't recognize the enemy. But as time went by, there were other battles, and I became more aware of my opponent in each fight. I learned what my strengths were and how to use them for the next battle. One day, the battles changed. The enemy was different. I was older, and the battlefield had changed too. The weapons I had been using weren't working anymore. I became weak and unsure. I had lost this new battle. But I knew just as before there would be a new opponent, and soon, because that's how wars are. You might get a short break and find a little rest, but while you're down, you have to analyze that last battle, figure out where you went wrong, make a new plan of action. I needed new weapons of war, a battle plan that had all new strategies, because I didn't know who this new enemy was. The years have passed and the battles have raged on in the field in my head. I've won more in my head than in life because the enemy keeps changing. When I was younger, the enemy had a head and hands, arms, legs, and feet. I could tell when I had to gear up and stand strong for the fight. As I've gotten older, I've been sucker punched and kicked and my hair pulled from my head and my innocence robbed. There is a war going on, and you are just as smart and you are just as much a part of it as I am. Thrown into the fray by hands meant to care and nurture you. Those same hands that soothe you want to toughen you up for the fight. I'm just going to call a ceasefire because this war needs to end. It shouldn't exist anyway. Yeah, that's about the gist of it. We have to not be complacent. We were so happy for 8 years because we finally had an administration that many of us thought listened to us. It wasn't a perfect administration. Let's just be honest. President Obama was a really fantastic president. In my opinion, probably one of the coolest in memory for me. And there was no scandals from his family. Nobody was doing all of these crazy, wild investigations. The headlines weren't filled with his children doing stupid and erratic things. We had it good, and we became complacent, and we sat on our laurels, and we completely forgot that there was going to be another administration coming in after his last election. And we have to prepare and keep preparing because that's what they're doing. That's what they did. They watched us as we patted each other on the back, and we have to stop patting each other on the back and giving each other an attaboy and an attagirl and good for you because that's not what's going to keep this country moving forward. We have to get up off our laurels. We have to stop, being so complacent and not paying attention. And we have to stop being argumentative and angry at each other. Because we didn't start the fight, but we're in the fight. And it's not about just one side. It's about all of us. We have to come together in one accord and say, this country is for everybody who has put in an effort to make it strong. And we can't just sit back and watch it be destroyed by the chosen few. I'm Joe Bright. And I am your host for Poetry Song, BFD, Battle for Dominance. That's what we have to do every day, people. Y'all wake up, get started, get going. I hope I put something on your mind for you to listen to and think about. Listen to me on demand if you haven't. I'm just trying to put my thoughts out there for everybody to listen to. Y'all have a great day. Please try to. Everybody. I'm Joy. This is Poetry Song BFD. I'm out.